Okay, good. Here we go. We're live. And I'm Mary Grace. So, host of Real Talk with Mary Grace. It is Monday, the 20th of September, 2021. Come on in and welcome to the show. Good to see everybody. It's been a while. I did a little bit of a live show from my vacation, but here I am back in the studio. So, want to bring you a quick show. I have a limited time today because I'm going to an event, an election event uh, in Richmond. So good to see everybody. Hello from Scotland. As you're coming in, please say hello. As you're coming in on Facebook, make sure you're following the channel, Mary Grace Media, and also that you like the show and that you tag people and share the show into groups on Facebook. And then on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, and subscribe to the channel. And we're also on CloutHub, channel 111. So please follow on CloutHub as well. I also have a profile on CloutHub, Mary Grace Media. And if you follow that, that's the best way to do it. I only do friend requests from people that I know personally over there. And that's not personal, it's just the way that platform works. Hey, Christina in Virginia Beach. Good to see you. Okay, so I have a lot to talk about today, and I apologize for the weird time. As you know, we're doing renovations at the house, and the contractor comes in the afternoons. Also, today I'm getting ready to go to Richmond so that I can take part in this event with. I'm not a presenter. I'm just there as an attendee. I'm going to attend the event with Seth Keshel and General Flynn and Patrick Byrne. And that is, where's my poster? Okay. That is in Richmond. So let's see. It is downtown Richmond. Ugh, not a great place to be. I apologize if you live downtown, but ugh. Anyway, going to be there. And Leon Benjamin's going to be there too. So that's the deal. And I have to get going pretty soon to do that. I hope everybody is having a good week. I hope everybody is starting to see things falling into place, some things that are coming together. And one of the things that I think happens sometimes is that it's easy to get uh, really down if you focus on the negative, if you focus on the bad things that are happening. And but the truth is, throughout history there have been bad things happening. There's evil that exists in the world, and from the time before time, there's been bad things happening, and so people have always been faced with a choice of where they're going to put their focus. If you're going to put your focus on the Lord and on his goodness and on his redemption and on Jesus Christ, then you have a much better outlook in life than if you're focusing on the negative that's going on around you. And that's just a universal truth. And that's been the way since the way was walking this earth, since before that. So I just wanted to remind you of that. And it is it's definitely a challenge. It's a discipline. It's a discipline of the mind, right? We have to take our thoughts captive. And the writer of that knew that we would be faced with situations where our thoughts are trying to bombard us on a daily basis, and that we're being challenged in that aspect. So take heart, and just take refuge in the goodness of God, because he is good, and there is hope for our nation. There is hope for humanity because of him. And I just want to start with that. Now, there's a lot of content that I want to cover today. I may not get to all of it just because of the timing here. And so I will be back on Wednesday to do a show on Wednesday. So don't forget that. Now, let's just see where we are. First of all, make sure that that you keep an eye on Project Veritas this evening. They have been promoting a a drop. They have whistleblowers inside the federal government, and they're going to be talking about um, the medical treatment that everybody seems to think you have to take to protect you from something that has a 99.9% recovery rate. And so make sure that you follow them, because they have said, James O'Keefe said that he's almost 100% certain that they are going to take down all of his social media when this news drops. And so they are relying on the Patriots to download the videos and to get those videos out and send them to as many people as you can. That is what's called distribution by proxy, and they're relying on all of us to do that. One thing to know about Telegram: if you're watching the videos on Telegram, if you have enough room on your device to store a video, you can download a video directly from Telegram. And most of the time, the easiest way to do that is if you touch and hold the image or the video, you will get a series of prompts. And if you look at the bottom of your screen, at least on an iPhone, there's a little arrow that pops up, and when you click the arrow at the very bottom, you get an option that says save video, and that will download the video directly to your phone, and then you can upload that video to any place that you have to put videos. You can put put it on Vimeo, put it on BitChute, put it on Rumble, put it on YouTube. Just know that if you put it on YouTube, you may get a strike. And so if you have an account that you don't worry about, the whole point here is just to saturate and flood the zone with the information. If you're able to send the video in a format that, other than that, go for it. I'm just trying to speak to people that aren't as technically savvy. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is important. They have people inside the federal government. We all know what's going on here. We know that this is just a complete and total lie. We know that the people who are pushing all of this are big pharma and big government and bureaucracy, and people like Baby Mengele, who have a financial interest in making sure that there is no alternative treatment ever. Because if there is, that means that the emergency use authorization for all of these shots is completely null and void. And that is why we have pharmacists who are telling me, I've spoken personally with pharmacists who are telling me that they can no longer even dispense ivermectin, that even if they wanted to, they couldn't get it. And if you remember, 2 weeks ago, before I went on vacation, I did a walk and talk, and I warned you that this was going to happen. I knew this is. People often wonder where I get my intel. I get my intel from Holy Spirit, and so I was warned to tell people to make sure that you get a supply on hand, because I knew that by the end of the week, I think I told you this on Tuesday, by the end of the week, there would be no more um, available through the pharmacies, and that the AMA, the American Medical Mafia, would be telling pharmacists not to prescribe it. And that's what happened. I talked to a pharmacist on Friday of that week who read me a memo that they received from their corporate overlords, telling them that they were no longer allowed to dispense this medication for people for COVID. And a few days before that, they had been told to use their discretion. So, in the matter of 3 days, it went from use your discretion to under no circumstances do you dispense it. JC, I haven't gotten a reply yet. So now the good news is that if you do have access to get a prescription, there are compounding pharmacies that will fill the prescription. And one of the places that I am seeing that is doing this, hold on a second, let me just find it. I think it's called Push Push Medical. hold on a second. Let me just find it again. This is a source, pushhealth.com, just like push, right? Pushhealth.com. If somebody wants to put that in the chat, just write it out, DOTCOM, right? Pushhealth.com. What you do there is they have a list of providers in different states, and some of them can actually treat you by telemedicine uh, in all 50 states. So start with that. One of the things that I told you before is that America's Frontline Doctors is completely overwhelmed, and so people have not been getting what they need from them. And just give them a break. They're doing other stuff. So just we have to use every resource that's available to us, and don't hate on the ones that have their hands tied for whatever reason. All right. There are also some places overseas. Some people are getting it from India, even if you do not have a prescription. The Push Health one, I believe, targets or links primarily to US based providers, maybe some Canada. And that would start with a telemedicine appointment where you would pay for that, then you would get a prescription. And then they, I believe, have connections with compounding pharmacies that will send you this medication. And in the US, you cannot just call up a pharmacy and say, I need this. If you live near the border with Mexico, you can go across the border and get it over the counter. I have a friend from Brazil. Her mom sends it to her. So that is those are just some updates on that. Going back to Project Veritas, I believe that it's going to come out. The truth is going to come out about why this has been pushed so hard. Now, one of the things by this I mean the shot. One of the things that I've seen and that I put together is we know now that the people who are getting this second wave, uh, most of them have had the shot. And so it would lead one to believe that perhaps that is what is triggering the sickness. And one of the major issues, um, one of the major issues that is at play here is that people are getting blood clots. And wouldn't you know that one of the main medications that is pushed for blood clots to prevent blood clots it's a blood thinner, is Eliquis. So does anybody want to take a guess of who holds the patent on Eliquis, which is a blood thinner? It was prescribed to my mom at one point, and I think the prescription for that was I think it was like $600 because it's on patent. So if you have a bunch of people that are getting a free shot and they're ending up with blood clots, in other words, they're getting the clot shot and they're ending up with blood clots, and then they have to be on a blood thinner. Who makes tons of money off of that blood thinner? Starts with a P, ends with an R. Yes, they have the patent on that. And so, can you see how this circle jerk goes? I mean, it should be obvious to people. It's not obvious to everybody yet, but if you haven't started to connect the dots, I would urge you to look at what is happening with these companies. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting is that Nicki Minaj, she's I think a rapper. I don't know her work. I do know that she was under fire by the fake news over the weekend because she was red pilling people on her Instagram. And yeah, so she was red pilling people on her Instagram, and all of a sudden, she's public enemy number one. And one of the things that she was pointing out was that now that people are starting to realize what's really going on here because of people like her, uh, she pointed out, she said, "Hey, go take a look at Pfizer's stock now that the truth is coming out." And so I would think that that would be a good indicator, right? If you watch the stock. You also, I was looking at Moderna stock from last year, and it has gone up like exponentially since last September. So there you go. And of course, follow the money, figure out figure out figure out who it is that was invested, especially in Congress, who put money, who bought into the stock market, into those stocks leading up to the release of all these things. I mean, think about it. So, do you think that they might have known that, like, for example, Pfizer, you think they might have known that it was going to cause blood clots? And oh, hey, we have a solution. Oh, hey, it's only $500 out of pocket. And we're going to fire everybody. We're going to make sure that people who don't take it lose their jobs. And the people that get sick from shedding from people who took it and are supposed to be on this medication and now they can't afford it. It's really, I hope you guys are seeing just how sinister and evil the powers behind this are. I mean, when the Bible says our enemy is not, our fight is not against flesh and blood. Our fight is against powers and principalities in the heavenly realms. That's what they're talking about. The people that are making these decisions and doing what they're doing um, are just evil. I mean, they are partnering with their father, the devil. There's no other way to say it. No other way to say it. There was also, yes, there's a Victoria's Secret model who came out and said that she was not going to do it as well. And so bigger names are starting to um, bigger names are starting to come forth and raise awareness about this. Somebody just made a comment. I just need to read this quickly. Somebody's asking, is it true that people who took it may be shedding the spike proteins? I'm supposed to be going to see friends for a few days. That seems to be the case. Can anybody else weigh in on that? I think that one of the things that people do to prevent being exposed to that, one of the remedies or antidotes is pine needle tea. You can get like white pine and steep the needles in water and drink it. But also taking the ivermectin, it can also be a prevention. And I talked about that on my show. Uh, 2 weeks ago, and it was the walk and talk. So if you go back and listen to that episode, I toward the end of the show, I talk pretty extensively about what I got for my family and how you take it. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the comments right now. I'm not an expert on this. I'm not a doctor. A lot of doctors have weighed in on this. One of them is Dr. Tenpenny. Sherry Tenpenny. So I'm not going to go too deep into the weeds about the shedding because I'm not an expert on that area. But one thing that I wanted to bring up as well is that the there's a lot of fake news going out around there to vilify ivermectin, saying that it hasn't been studied for use with COVID, and that's an absolute lie. It's 100% lie because there are 64 studies out that are showing 64 studies of using ivermectin either prophylactically in early treatment and in late treatment. 64. And there's a website where you can go and look at all this. So if you have a provider that you're trying to talk to and they're saying there's no studies on this and that it's a horse medication, this is a great site. I was reading some of it yesterday. And so it's called ivmmeta.com. ivmeta.com. So ivmeta.com. All right. So I would encourage you to go there. And remember, when you see .com written out, you have to take out the word dot and put in a period. All right. Somebody's saying Dr. Zelenko won the Nobel Prize for that back in 2005. I don't think it was Dr. Zelenko. I know that are you talking about ivermectin? I believe it was somebody else. Dr. Zelenko may have been part of the research, but I think it was a different doctor. All right. So go and find that site. And then also, I mean, this is a resource that you would send to a doctor, a medical professional who's trying to tell you that there's no research. You could say, well, let me share this with you because this actually is legitimate research. This is peer-reviewed literature. There are 64 studies, and I don't know, what medical journals you're looking at, but this is what I have. And these are studies that were published in medical journals. And so maybe respectfully, you could expand your research or just look at the document that I'm sending you. That's what I would do. Now, this is another thing that's very interesting. It says ivermectin. This is in India. Okay. This is what's happening in India. Ivermectin is now approved for COVID in 79 countries. Japan just recommended it for prophylaxis and for treatment. There are 63 randomized controlled trials with positive results. So this article says 63. The link that I shared with you has 64, but that's what this is referencing. Randomized controlled trials. And this is where the medical people will try to get you. They'll say, oh, there's no randomized trials. And you can come back and say, oh, then what's this? This looks like randomized trials to me. I know I'm not a doctor, but I can read. And then, all right. Now, okay. It says the arrogance of the alphabet soup, FBI, CIA, FDA, CDC, NIH is disgusting. Let's not forget the AMA, the American Medical Mafia Association. They are in bed with the FDA and with the CDC, and they control. They have vast control over what doctors do. They're just the medical mafia. They are. You have to pay them tribute. I don't know if you know this, but doctors' offices actually literally have to pay them to be able to use their billing codes. All those billing codes that they use for you when you go in to see a doctor and they write all these codes and that's how it's billed to your insurance. That is all controlled by the AMA. They control that. Doctors have to pay a monthly fee to even to be able to use those fees to bill insurance. If you don't pay the fee, you can't use the codes and you don't get paid by insurance. That's how much of a stranglehold they have on the medical community. All right, let me back up here. Can somebody answer April's question about the paste situation? That is on my video that I did on YouTube. When I do walk and talks, April, they're only on YouTube. So go back and look at my YouTube channel, Mary Grace Media, and find the video that I did. I think it was on either the 6th or the 8th of September. All right. Let me just read this. I can't remember what channel I got this off of. Yesterday, it was reported that the state of Uttar Pradesh, home of the Taj Mahal and the most populous state in India with a population of over 200 million, had been declared COVID-free by the Indian government. I fact-checked this with a lady in Mumbai who has been selling me ivermectin in pill form. Today, she sent this to me about her own state of Maharashtra, second most populous state with a population of over 130 million. Why only Uttar Pradesh? Most of the states are COVID-free now. Ivermectin, the reason for their success, ivermectin used both in treatment of COVID and as a preventive. It was handed out free to all of the citizens of India. Isn't it interesting that President Trump went to India right at the onset of the pandemic? Do you remember that? Who did he remember he went to the stadium and he was with Modi, the president of India, and this country is COVID free because they're using the protocol. It's almost like President Trump knows things, isn't it? And I told you that he was. I did a whole show on that because I talked about the tie that he wore and the color of yellow on the tie, and the fact that that color is in maritime lore, or sorry, in the maritime world, that color flag, that specific yellow, is the yellow that is used when a ship enters a harbor to indicate that their vessel is disease free, and that um, they're requesting entry and dockage into the harbor because their vessel is disease free. And I thought it was pretty significant that President Trump was wearing that color tie in India. And I still think that it is. I think that more is going to come out about that, and the fact that he was in India at the beginning of the pandemic, and that the government of India has been using ivermectin. I also mentioned on my show 2 weeks ago that I have seen indication, even on U.S. government websites, that ivermectin is also a cure for the big C, for many varieties of the big C. And this is significant, guys, because I don't think, I think some people are becoming aware of the stranglehold that big pharma has on all of society, especially in the West, that they have on the food, on your food production, what they're doing to your food supply, big ag, big pharma, kissing cousins, not even kissing cousins, like incestuous, okay? And then you combine the FDA, the CDC, the American Medical Mafia Association. They're all in this together. And what I believe you are about to witness is the takedown of all of them. And so just hold on tight, because I think it's going to get a little bit rocky. And if you remember last year in October, when President Trump did a rally, I think it was in Texas, he talked about how he was going to be gone for a little while. No, it was Ohio. He was in Ohio, and he did this. He did this. Um, he did this speech, and this was right after I think he won. He succeeded in getting the price of insulin down. Do you remember that? And he said, "I've made a lot of people very angry." And so that was, I think, having to do with some of the revelations that we're going to get. And and speaking of President Trump, I want to emphasize something to you again, and that is a lot of people are people are a little bit um, upset, even to the point of being offended by by the fact that people are dying, and and this is without I don't want to come across as sounding unfeeling. Those of you who know me know that that's not me at all. But I want people to I want people to really pay attention here, and to absorb the fact that we're at war, because people get so upset that people are dying. First of all, people die. Second of all, has there ever been a war where there were no casualties? I mean, I'm giving you some harsh truth here, because people are acting like nobody's supposed to die. That even though you see with your own eyes what the deep state and what the cabal wants for you, all you have to do is look at Australia. Even though you see that, you see what they're doing to the children, people still seem to be shocked that there are deaths occurring. Um, and so I want to, hey, Michelle, so I want to say something. I'm going to read something that Praying Medic wrote, because I think it's apropos for now. And I really want to encourage people to take this to heart and to understand that, and to get perspective about what is going on here. And I want people to get perspective on the fact that there would be millions more casualties had not President Trump acted in the way that he did, when all of this started. So this is what President Trump wrote. Not this is what Praying Medic wrote. Okay. It says, some are offended by the fact that President Trump's war against the globalist cabal has resulted in death and injury of innocent people. The first thing one must understand about war is that it results in loss of life, regardless of the domain in which it is fought or whether it is a declared war. Death is the result. Just hear that. You don't see bullets flying in America. You don't see men and women going off to a battlefield. This is an information warfare. It is a warfare that is being fought at a level that most people don't even know exists. All right, I'm going to keep reading. The fact that death and injury are occurring is evidence that we are indeed presently engaged in a war. That few know who we are fighting suggests that the enemy has concealed their identity. If the press are aware of the identity of the enemy, they have not revealed it to us. There exists the possibility that the press itself is the enemy, or at least that they are sympathetic to the enemy's agenda, enemy of the people. So I want people to understand this, because you know, every day that I do a show, I get people who are on the show, who are in some ways, what am I saying? They're in deep distress, and that's okay. I'm not saying be callous or unfeeling or uncaring that people are dying, but they're angry at President Trump. They're offended that anybody has to die. They are. I've had people blame me and say that I don't care, and that I'm unfeeling, and people who are playing the victim. And I I'm sorry, but we're at war, and I don't know any other way to give you those words. The people who are not understanding that, I think, are the ones who think that who are allowing themselves to be gaslit into thinking that President Trump is the enemy, when in fact he has prevented larger scale casualties at a scale that I don't think many people can fathom. He's actually told you that what he has done prevented loss of life in the hundreds of millions. So think about that. Think about that. You have to look at this on a relative scale. You have to see and understand that we're at war. And, the difference is that when you see war on TV, you see bodies. You see shrapnel. You see what do you call it? You see bombed out buildings. You see blood. You see people in uniform marching into battle. You see, for example, in World War II. I mean, there's footage. If you went to the movies, there was war footage in the beginning of every movie, and so people were reminded constantly. And people were brought into the fight. You see soldiers walking down, marching with guns. um, it's not by coincidence that General Flynn talked several years ago about an army of digital soldiers. And so, as hard as it is to get your head around this, and as much as it feels like this esoteric concept that we're at war, we're in a war that is perhaps even more uh, deadly, potentially more deadly and more far and has further reaching implications than any other war before this. I've said this before, we are in the second American Revolution, and I believe that it's actually there's more at stake now than there was then, because at that time it was more obvious, and there was the the revolutionaries were fighting to get out from under tyranny and to establish a new nation. We are in a place right now where we are trying to keep the nation. And the problem is that a lot of people don't know that that's what's happening. And because the media is a captured operation, nobody's coming out and telling them, "Oh, hey, we're at war." And see, that's the other thing. In previous wars, and even including the manufactured wars, the media was all in. The media was pushing the propaganda. The media was pushing the team effort. In this case, the media is pushing a false war, which is the war on COVID. They're trying to unite you around a false enemy. In the meantime, President Trump told you from day one that we are fighting the invisible enemy, and he wasn't talking about a germ. Do you see that? And so you're being gaslit. The general public is being gaslit into thinking that we're at war against a virus, and that the people who aren't participating, the people who are questioning the narrative of the war, are insurrectionists, are traitors to our country, when in fact the opposite is true. The people who are questioning this are the people who understand that we are at war against an invisible enemy, and that is where the real war is being fought. And so this is something that we are constantly battling against. I believe at some point the media will be recaptured and the media will be used to get the truth out to the people. One of the things that I think people need to understand is that we have to get to a little bit more of a place of mass awakening. Now, the fact that people are at football games and they're chanting "F Biden" en masse, and they're using the cowbells in the intervals, that's a pretty big awakening. Um, I think that deep down, people, even people who were some of the people who were diehard supporters of the faker, I think that they're starting to get it. I will tell you something that I noticed on uh, um, I'll tell you something that happened on my trip. This is interesting. So we drove up to New England, and I drove through Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York City, right through New York City, uh, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. And I'll tell you what I saw. On many of the overpasses, I saw American flags, lots of American flags. We happened to drive through New York City on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, which was very sobering, especially because my dad actually worked in the Twin Towers in 1993 in the first bombing. He was with FEMA, and he as we drove, into New Jersey, and you could see the New York skyline. He pointed and he said, the Twin Towers used to be right over there, and I remember when I was there. And it was very sobering. And but what we saw was giant American flag draped from the George Washington Bridge, and we saw all the way up through New England into the Cape Cod, American flags on bridges. I'll tell you what I didn't see. I did not see signs for Faker 46 or his sidekick. I did not see um, I did not see any bumper stickers. I saw one, one bumper sticker for him. That was it. So Mr. 81 million votes apparently does not have any fans in these deep blue states where he supposedly won by a landslide. Isn't that crazy? I don't know. It's almost like people are awake. Yeah. Um, yeah. Um, just something to think about. I mean, deep, deep blue states. Oh, Connecticut too. Connecticut. Yeah. No, no yard signs. Businesses didn't have those big signs out for him. Like it's gone. And here's the thing, like the people that voted for President Trump, they still have their signs up and their flags, right? We know who the winner was. We know who's showing up whenever Faker 46 goes anywhere, who's there to greet him on the road. None of his fans. Every single person that greets him is a Trump supporter. He gets heckled. Nancy Pelosi gets heckled. Kamala, when she makes an appearance, gets heckled. Everybody hates them. Just something to think about. Yeah, if you're in a church that's blaming you for people getting sick, you need to find a new church. Just reading this in the comments on YouTube. Okay, now let me go back to my notes here. Let's see. Read your comments. Hi, Robert. What is the topic for today? The topic is all kinds of things. You'll have to go back to the replay. I'm going to be signing off pretty soon here. And Robert, I want to talk to you. Can you send me an email? We have some things that are going to be happening in business, and there may be some opportunities for you in Germany. Okay, let's see. Let me just look. Okay, so I talked to you about Project Veritas. I've talked to you about the ivermectin situation. Oh, okay, this is what I wanted to say. So, President Trump, he's been doing interviews, and there's one question that everybody keeps asking him. Yes, email is good. Everybody keeps asking him, so are you going to run in 2024? It's kind of an annoying question, isn't it? Because we know that he's already said we have to fix 2020. That's one of the things he said. But the other thing he says that I think is interesting, he brings this up a lot. And for all the things that he's really good at, he's not really like a good he's not really like a good liar, you know. But he says he avoids the question. But lately he's been saying something interesting. He's been saying something about uh, he's been saying, well, you know, I think you're going to like what you see, but, you know, there's a lot I can't talk about because of campaign finance laws. So some of you are saying he should just say no. I disagree. First of all, it's good to keep people hanging, the right people, right? He's not doing this to you. Remember, a lot of the things he says are for the deep state, not for you. And some of the things are for the Anons. Some things are for normies. You have to get discernment so that you can understand what's for you and what's for the Anons and what's for the deep state. All right. So he dances around the topic and he says a lot of people will be very happy, etc. But he talks about this issue of campaign finance laws. And he says he does it in such a way. I've noticed the way he talks about it is it's kind of BS, all right? And he says something like, well, you know, campaign finance laws, I can't really talk about it. And I mean, you know, those laws are crazy. They're kind of tough, you know? And it's a line that he's using. And I've been really trying to figure out, I've really been trying to figure out like, what does he mean by that? Why does he keep bringing that up? And, first of all, I think that it has to do with I think that if you say that you're running for office in the world of campaigns, that is basically like an official announcement. And so if he does say he is running, then that would I think by default that would mean that he conceded 2020 because he couldn't run for another term. um in other words, if he actually won 2020 and he said, "Yes, I'm running in 2024," that would mean that he conceded 2020 because you can't be president, you can't run for 3 terms for president, right? Consecutive. And so that's one thing. So that you should take that as a good sign. He's not trying to be evasive. He's not trying to string you along. He's not conceding. If he came out and said yes, then that would mean he conceded. But also, I think that any definitive answer on that could be led to look like a type of campaigning. Now, one thing that I think it should be pretty clear is um, that President Trump is not campaigning for 2024. All right. Um, he's not. He's not campaigning. He's doing rallies. He's never asked you to vote for him in 2024. He's doing rallies and he's endorsing other candidates. He's not. There are no signs that say Trump 2024. Nothing like that. And so to me, those are very good indicators that um, he's not going anywhere. And in fact, he's going to be back sooner than you think. And if you've been following Patel Patriot and his writings about devolution, I think that President Trump's responses in this to this question are in line with what we believe to be true about what's the case, that he is actually the real commander in chief, that the commanders of different posts in the military are on page with him, that there is a plan for continuity of government that was put in place back in the fall. And so I think that there is a lot of reason for you not to get distressed when people ask him that question. Some of them may actually be asking him the question uh, as theater. Just remember, there's a lot of theater happening right now. There's a lot of roles being played, and there's a lot of words being thrown around that don't actually mean what they sound like. You just have to remember that. And when you understand that we are at war, then you understand that there has to be that a lot of the way that you win an information war is by being better at disinformation than your enemy. I'm going to say that again. The way that you win an information war is to be better at disinformation than your enemy is. And so you see distractions from the left. Don't forget that we are good at distraction as well. In fact, we're probably better at it. All right. Um, so, uh, going to the question on Facebook, what are your thoughts about General Flynn saying there is no plan? I think I just answered that question. And so I think there is a plan. I will echo the words of General Flynn though and say that you are part of the plan. That we the people, are the plan. And so anybody who is bowing out and saying I'm done, um, you're abandoning your country. You're abandoning your children's future. You're abandoning your grandchildren's future, the future of this country, the future of the republic, because that's what they want you to do. All right. It's easy to bow out at this point, and believe me, it's hard. It's demoralizing. It's really sad. When we see every week now, we see a story about an individual who is being um, medically raped against their will, um, and forced to take medications that they don't want and denied medications that they want and dying. Things like that. That is the kind of thing that it's very easy, if you allow yourself to go down that road, to think that it's a lost cause. That is where it's so, so, so important to take your thoughts captive and to refocus and to pivot your hope onto the Lord. Um, so I want to go back to a comment that Michelle made about her family. Where did it go? I don't see her comment. Oh, okay. Michelle has a solution. This is for April on Facebook. All right. This is on the YouTube live chat. She says, we are non-VED living with VED people in the home. So she's talking about the shedding. They take quinine capsules. Is that quercetin, Michelle? And they take D3, zinc, vitamin C, and her son gets nosebleeds. We got him X Clear to use as well. Okay. So another thing I was going to say, speaking of over-the-counter medications, a lot of people want to have budesonide on hand because that is the nebulized steroid. One of the things that that Andrea Joy was talking about was, if you get, I think it's Rhinocort. Michelle, was I talking to you about that the other day? Hold on. Yes, Rhinocort nasal spray. It looks like this. Hold on. The primary ingredient is budesonide. It says it right there. See that? You can buy that over the counter. All right? People who've gotten gotten the Rona, have used that. It's really helped them. I don't know if you can nebulize the liquid that's in the bottle, but I would imagine you could. If there's anybody that knows for sure, let us know. All right. Okay, did you get that, Shay? Okay, good. Yeah, so I showed that on Amazon, but I think you can walk into a pharmacy and buy that. Okay. I would definitely have that on hand. And then again, go back to my show from the what day was it? Was it the 6th of September where I did the walk and talk and I talked about the other things that you could do. All right. So, yeah, it's a spray. It's a nasal spray. Um Delia's trying to write the show notes here and she's probably like, "Mary just did a squirrel." I just wanted to remember that. All right. Looking into hydrogen peroxide 30%. Yeah, some people are nebulizing hydrogen peroxide. You know, a lot of people in Andrea Joy's chat on Telegram are talking about this. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just show you her chat. Andrea Joy. What time is it? Oh my goodness, I need to sign off here. Andrea. Andrea. Okay, her chat is called Andrea Joy Crakalaka Chat. She has a lot of there's a lot of people that are sharing information about protocols that they've used. Okay. Paula Patriot, want me to show it again? Yes, I'll show it again. See right there, it says budesonide. So if they have a generic in the store, it looks like it's glucocorticoid. That's the generic name. And so I think that anything that's comparable to that store brand, just make sure it says that. Okay, so hopefully everybody got a screenshot of that. All right, so listen, Andrea, Joy, Crackalacka, Pat, send me a message on Telegram and I'll send you an invite link to that, okay? Dr. Mercola has a good video on how to nebulize with hydrogen peroxide. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Dr. Mercola, he's the one that you know, they're coming after him big time. The medical mafia really hates him. Hates him. Okay. He's actually I learned something from him years ago that has actually helped me a lot, and it has to do with hydrogen peroxide. Take note of this because this is a really big thing. If you feel a cold coming on, or if you just feel run down, like I might be getting sick, here's something that I learned from him. That I learned from him years ago, and I've done it many times, and it's worked. Is if you feel like right at the onset of something coming, you get hydrogen peroxide and you lie down on the bed. Make sure you have a towel handy because in case it runs out, lie down and get a cap full of hydrogen peroxide, pour it in your ear, and lie there for 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to crackle and pop like crazy. It's going to itch. I don't know what it does, but it somehow draws out whatever's going on in your body. Do it on both sides. Um, I don't know how it works, and he actually never could explain why it worked either, but it's a huge help if you feel like something is coming on you, okay? Um, try that. Just hydrogen peroxide, pour it in your ear. It's gonna feel weird, but if you get something like right when you're coming down with it, do it on both sides and just lie there 10 to 15 minutes. Like it'll stop crackling. And that's, I think, when you know that you can switch sides. All right. Okay. Greg is saying early treatment with a nasal spray may be all you need, may not need the nebulizer. I would not nebulize the nasal spray. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. So again, when, yeah, like it may have something to like early treatment, it seems like the key here. And that is the thing. People understand that don't let this go. Even if you think, oh, it's just a cold, it's just allergies, it's not going to hurt to take these treatments, especially ivermectin, quercetin, those kinds of things. These are extremely safe treatments. There may be 1 in 5 million that has some kind of side effect. Okay. Now, I think that just a drop or two. Okay. Now, I could be all right, Greg says he's done it for many years and it works. Are you saying that you've done the nasal spray or the hydrogen peroxide in the ears or both? I think you can't go wrong with both, right? I'm just saying that I think that for me, I'm going to have that Rhinocort on hand. I'm going to have that on hand in our medicine cabinet. Okay. You decide what to do for your family, but that's what I'm going to do. All right. I'm going to sign off now. I'll be back Wednesday. I don't know what time. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you for all of this incredibly valuable chat. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody's comments and input here. And I wanted to thank you for being here. Thank you for being good listeners. Quercetin is over the counter. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to say about my show and my audience. So, ever since I got banned on Twitter, I have a pretty small audience, and I'm shadow banned everywhere. And every now and then, you know, I'll get over 1,000 views, especially if people share my stuff on Facebook. But it is what it is. But the crazy thing is that, you know, I feel like there are people watching my show and using my content and not giving me credit. So here's an example. Do you remember a while back when I said that Chick-fil-A should be in charge of getting everybody out of Afghanistan. Do you remember that? I did a little thing on it on my show. I said we should just put them in charge. They would get it all done. It would be very efficient and nobody gets hurt, right? And then like 2 days later, the Babylon Bee comes out with that article with my Chick-fil-A idea. Do you remember that? And then another thing happened. I told you guys about why I think that President Trump featured Baby Mengele, the sociopath, why he put him front and center. Do you remember that? I told you that he did it so that he would become a household name and that when the hammer dropped, everybody would know who he was. Do you remember that? So, a little bit after that, the folks that run We the Media on Telegram, somebody wrote a thread about that. Literally, it was like, oh, they must have watched my show. And hey, I think it's great that my ideas are getting around, but A, maybe you could share my show on We the Media if you're going to use my ideas. And B, maybe you could give me credit for the idea that you wrote in your channel. Wouldn't that be awesome? Okay, just saying. uh, it's good that the ideas are getting out, but let's give people credit when you use their ideas. So, that's it. I'll be back Wednesday, and I'm going to be at this event tonight, and hopefully, we'll see General Flynn and Patrick and who else? I'll meet Seth Keshel. That would be great, and Leon Benjamin. So it's going to be good. And I will see you guys later. Thanks again for all your great comments. And I can't see your comments here. Okay. You guys are a blessing, and I will be back Wednesday.